I am going to provide an exposition of the message of St. John Paul II in Santiago de Compostela in Spain in 1989 on the occasion of the World Youth Day. As I mentioned in the previous presentations, it's our prayer that we get to understand this message and put it into practice so that we can stay connected to the spirit of the World Youth Day and also continue growing in and deepening our faith. And in the words of St. John Paul II himself, that this message should leave deep traces in our life and be a powerful living of a spiritual renewal. The theme for this day was picked from the Gospel of John chapter 14 verse 6, which says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. The Pope says that this World Day is centered on Jesus Christ, the truth, the way, and the life. He adds that for all of us, this day should become a day of a new, a more mature, and a deeper discovery of Christ in our life. So I'm going to present this message just in 2 points. That is 1, discovery of Christ, and 2, being his witness. So let us set off. St. John Paul II begins by saying, to be young is already in itself a special and more specific treasure of every young man and young woman. This treasure consists, among other things, the fact that ours is an age of many important discoveries. The discovery of ourselves, our personalities, the meaning of our existence, and the reality of good and evil. We also discover the world around us and the world of nature. He says, among all these discoveries, there must not be lacking one discovery that is of fundamental importance for every human being, the personal discovery of Jesus Christ. The discovery of Christ, always more fully, he says, is the most wonderful adventure of our life. And so to explain further this discovery of Christ, the Pope goes ahead to ask each one of us 3 important questions. And to each question, he suggests an answer. The first question he asks is, have you already discovered Christ, who is the way? And yes, he responds that Jesus is for us a way that leads to the Father, the only way. And whoever wants to reach salvation must set along this way. Everyone at some point in life finds him or herself at crossroads, not knowing which path to choose, which way to go. There are so many wrong paths, so many facile proposals, so many ambiguities in life. And in moments like this, St. John Paul II says, do not forget that Christ, with his gospel, his example, his commandments, is always and alone the safest way, the way which leads to full and lasting happiness. And on the second question, he asks, have you already discovered Christ, who is the truth? And he answers that truth is the deepest need of the human spirit. Young people especially are hungry for the truth about God and man, about life and the world. And on this, he refers to his first encyclical, Redemptor Hominis, where he wrote that the man who wishes to understand himself thoroughly, and not just in accordance with his immediate, partial, often superficial and illusory standards and measures of his being, must, with his unrest, uncertainty, and even his weakness and sinfulness, with his life and death, draw near to Christ. Christ is the word of truth, uttered by God himself in response to all the questions of the human heart. He is the one who reveals fully to us the mystery of man and of the world. The third question the Pope asks, have you already discovered Christ, who is the life? Each one of us is so anxious to live life in its fullness. We live with great hopes and fine plans for the future. But the Pope urges us that do not forget that the true fullness of life is to be found only in Christ, who died and rose again for us. Christ alone is able to fill in depth the space of the human heart. He alone gives the strength of joyful living in spite of any limit or external impediment. Yes, discovering Christ is the finest adventure of your life. But the Pope emphasizes here that it's not enough to discover him just once. Discovering him becomes every time an invitation to seek him always, to come to know him through unceasing prayer, participation in sacraments, meditating on his word, and through catechesis and listening to the teachings of the church. And he quotes St. Paul's letter to Philippians chapter 1 verse 21, which says, "For me to live is Christ." The second point, the Pope moves away from discovering Christ to being a witness. Once you have discovered Christ and that discovery is authentic, mark the word authentic, then it should drive you to apostolate, a commitment to apostolate, that desire to bring Christ to others. He insists that the whole church is missionary and evangelizing. She lives constantly in a state of mission. To be a Christian is to be an apostle. It's not enough to discover Christ. You must bring him to others, inspired by the Gospel of Mark chapter 16 verse 15, which says, "Go out to the whole world, proclaim the good news to all creation." The Pope goes on to give two other reasons why we should evangelize. One, because neo-paganism and the process of secularization present a great challenge to the message of the gospel. And secondly, a growing nostalgia for the sacred, for genuine values, and for prayer. And so he proceeds to say that today's world needs many apostles, especially apostles who are young and courageous, to witness today to their faith in bringing the gospel of Christ, the way, the truth, and life in a committed way into today's world to build a new civilization, a civilization of love, justice, and peace. Each new generation needs new apostles, first to evangelize to the world of the youth, assailed by so many challenges which are threatening. The Pope encourages young people to evangelize, and he assures them that no one, absolutely no one, can take their place where they study, where they work, and in your free time, because so many of our peers do not know Christ, and even if they know him, they do not know him well enough. So as a young person, a young adult, you cannot afford to remain silent and indifferent. You must have that courage to speak about Christ, to bear witness to your faith through a lifestyle inspired by the gospel. And he quotes 1 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 16, which says, "Woe to me if I do not preach the gospel." And in conclusion, the Pope speaks to young people and young adults that Jesus trusts you and counts on your collaboration, for the harvest is rich, but laborers are few. Christ needs you. Respond to his call with courage and enthusiasm that belongs to your age. He quotes Ephesians chapter 5 verse 2 and 8 that says, "All in all, walk in love. Walk as children of light. Learn to discover Jesus, who is our way, the truth, and the life." Dear people of God, this message of mine ends with an embrace of peace, which I want to extend to all of you, wherever you may be. I entrust everything to the special protection of Mary, Queen of Apostles, and of St. James the Apostle, who throughout the centuries has been venerated at the ancient sanctuary of Compostela in Spain. May my apostolic blessing, as a sign of encouragement and good wishes, accompany you all along your way.